November the, what is today's date? November the 24th, November the 24th, 1993, and we are nestled here in the Robnett Baseball Museum in Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah.
And we have on our right here, don't even really need to introduce him, the whole world knows who this man is, Mr. Mickey Owen. On our left, Curtis Robnett, and both these guys have a baseball history. Curtis, Mickey's probably a little modest. Why don't you tell us about Mickey's background? Played a little baseball this time, didn't he?
I don't think he's too modest. Let him tell it. He can, but go ahead, Mick. Tell him who you are. This is going to be on TV.
Okay. I started baseball in 1935, Springfield, Missouri, in the Western Association, and I was 18 years old. I played the first year here, and the next year I went to Columbus, Ohio, in the American Association. And the 1937, I was given to because I belonged in the Cardinal organization, sent up to St. Louis, and I had 13 years in the major leagues.
13 years. Well, you just sort of flew over 13 years there. What happened in those 13 years?
I had 4 years with the St. Louis Cardinals as a catcher. I was a catcher, and I caught over 400 games with the St. Louis Cardinals. I had 5 years with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and I caught nearly 500 games with the Dodgers. And I then went with the Chicago Cubs. I was with the Cubs 3 years, and the last 3 years I was in the majors. I was with the Boston Red Sox as a player coach. I played 1 year, and 2 years I was a player coach. So I'd end up with actually 15 years in the major league.
Well, tell me, Mickey, that was back in the days when they probably signed you up to about a $3 million a year contract, right?
$300 a month.
I was very poor at figures, and it probably looked like it was that much. I probably got more than I was worth, so I never gave it any thought. But I'll say this, the pension that I get from baseball is twice as much as I got when I played.
Well, if you don't mind, let's say your first major league team you played for was the Cardinals, right?
Right. Played 4 years with the Cardinals.
And what year was that?
That was 1937. I broke in 1937, 38, 39, and 40.
Did you sign a contract with them, and they just pay you each year, or what?
Oh yeah, they own you, and they have the rights to your contract. And if they don't want you, they just release you. So you can't go with anybody else unless they trade you, sell you, or release you. And I spent 4 years with them, and then in 41 I went with the Dodgers. They sold me to the Dodgers, and I spent 5 years with the Dodgers.
Now let me break in here, Alan.
All right.
And tell him about, he spent 4 years with the Cardinals, and he tells this story. They had a great catcher there that was a better hitter than Mickey, and his name was Walker Cooper. So one day Mickey's still with the Cardinals, and Cooper's up there taking batting practice, and he's hitting that ball in them seats, boom, boom. He was a home run hitter and a great catcher. No better catcher than Mickey, but a better hitter. So Mick said to somebody, he said, "Say, who's the fella doing all hitting them balls out of the ballpark?" And they said, "His name's Cooper. He's a brother to Mort Cooper, who's a pitcher for the Cardinals." "Oh, he is, yes." Well, Mick says, "What position does he play?" Says, "He's a catcher." Uh-oh, Mick says, "I'm gone." The next day, they traded him to Brooklyn.
My goodness.
That's my story.
My goodness. Mickey, you were telling me an interesting story here a few minutes ago. Don't tell us his name, but there was a young fellow that came on board that some scout brought in as a tryout as a pitcher. The guy was so broke he couldn't afford his own glove. Tell us that story there.
He was a catcher.
It was a catcher, oh.
He was a young fellow that lived there in St. Louis. And the scouts of the Cardinals worked that area real good because the Yankees also had a good scout in there. Brought a young fellow in with a head full of black hair, and the scout, he was standing behind the scout, not saying a word, and the scout walked over to me and said to me down here, "Have you got an old glove you could give this kid? He don't have one." And I said, "Why not give him a new one? I got gloves for nothing from Rawlings. They would give me all the gloves, mitts, catcher's mitts I needed, because I signed with him. So I picked up the new mitt and handed it to him, and I said, give that kid this one here. And that kid turned out to be a major league ball player and a catcher, and one of the greatest announcers that was ever in baseball.
And his name?
Joe Garagiola.
Joe Garagiola.
Right.
Okay, well.
Buddy of Yogi Berra.
I guess I've been mispronouncing his name all these years. I thought it was Garagiola. It's Garagiola, like a garage door, huh?
Yeah,
Can you get a close-up of this?
Sure. What we got here?
That's when Mickey was with the Dodgers, and that's his autograph, of course. And this down here is old reliable Tommy Henrich, and he's the fellow that was batting in the World Series in '41 when Mick missed the third strike, and he beat the throw to first base, and then went on to beat the Dodgers and went on to win the World Series.
Huh.
Now go ahead, Mickey.
There's a great story in that third strike. And of course,
Kind of hold it still there.
all right, there's a great, this is not the third strike, that's me.
Oh, that's Mickey. All right.
I thought but the story of the third strike is such an unusual happening that it'll never be forgotten. And something that the fans, they know what happened, but they don't see in the back the completely who the people were that were in the third strike. Here's the third strike right here. Now
Get a
there's
close-up
the
of that,
pitcher and the batter and the catcher. Now this is something that is just unusual. The pitcher was Hugh Casey. He was a relief pitcher, pitching in relief, and he, to this day, has the highest winning percentage of any relief pitcher in the history of the major league. He still holds 731. No one else is in 700.
Okay, where are you in that picture, Mickey?
I'm right here. I'm the catcher.
And where's the ball? Where's the ball?
The ball is right there.
Well, what's the ball doing down there? It's supposed to be in your glove.
That's the one where I missed. Now, this fellow here, he is a losing pitcher in that game. This fellow here is one of the top hitters, productive hitters in the history of baseball. He's in the 1,000 club.
My
That's
goodness.
where your production is greater than your time is at bat.
And his name
There's
is?
only 38 in it, and
And what's his name?
that's Tom Hendricks. All right.
We're back on the air now. Mickey, finish telling us the story there surrounding what's in that picture.
Well, in the picture is a missed third strike of the World Series of 1941, and the big story that no one knows about or heard about was the fact that the three people that were involved in it were the top of their profession in what they did failed to do in this photograph and in this game. The relief pitcher was Hugh Casey, and Casey is the winningest relief pitcher in the history of baseball. Still holds that first place in relief pitching. Tom Henrich struck out, and he is in the select 38 players of all time whose batting production is greater than their times at bat. He struck out. Now this fellow here is the catcher and missed in chasing the ball that he missed.
And his name is Mickey Owen.
His name is Mickey Owen, that's me, and I hold the record for the National League for, it still stands, of 509 chances without an error, and that happened in 1941 and extended over into 1942.
You caught 509 balls without an arrow. Is that what you're saying?
Made 509 plays.
Oh.
That's throwing plays, tagging plays, catching plays, or whatever it is. So I had 509 without an error.
And that's a record that still stands?
Still, all the records still stand with
Absolutely.
all three of us that were in that third strike situation.
Okay. Now again, you're playing for the Cardinals here, right?
I'm
Brooklyn
playing for the
Dodgers.
I mean the Brooklyn.
Dodgers.
Okay.
With the Brooklyn Dodgers against the New York Yankees in 1941.
And this was the third game, was it not?
This was the fourth game.
It was the fourth game.
Had we
Okay.
had won this game, which we had it won, and then I missed the ball, and then the Yankees go on to score 4 runs, and they beat us 7-4. So if we had won this game, we would have been tied with the Yankees 2-2.
My goodness. And again, that year was
41.
1941. I guess the following year, Mickey, probably saw a lot of major league players that go into the service, right?
They began to go in 1941. Hank Greenberg went in 41, and a pitcher from the Phillies were the first two to leave, and I forget his name, but he was a fine pitcher.
Yeah.
And then in 1942 they picked up, and by 1943 they were just leaving right and left.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's take a look around here. Curtis, you got a lot of stuff in this room. You want to just kind of walk us around and
Yeah.
show us what you got?
Okay, let's start right over here, Ellen.
Okay.
This is a collection of baseballs that me, myself, and my friend Mickey Owen have gathered over the period of the last 30 years.
Uh-huh.
And the most of these balls are people like Stan Musial, a great Cardinal ball player, Carl Hubble, and that's Carl's picture right there behind the ball.
Okay, when you say, actually, they're autographed by the people you're naming there.
Yeah, they're autographed. And I got either I got it or Mickey got these autographs.
Uh-huh.
And then here is Hank Aaron, who hit 755 home runs and hit more than anybody that ever played the game. And then here is Johnny Bench,
Mm-hmm.
who was,
Familiar name?
even Mickey says he's the best catcher of our time. Not the best catcher of all time, but I would say, wouldn't you, Mickey?
He was one of the three top catchers in baseball, in my opinion.
And then, right here is a picture of the missed third strike, and it is autographed by Mickey and also his friend Tommy Henrik, who back in those days they called him the old reliable,
Yeah.
because he was such a reliable ball player, of course. Then here in this is Mickey when he was with the Dodgers, and this is a ball signed by him, and it says on their World Series missed third strike, Ebbets Field, 1941.
Mm.
Then, in this big container is Mickey Mantle. And that ball was signed. Mickey Owen sent that ball in 1978. Mick was getting me some balls, and he sent one to Mickey Mantle, and he autographed it and sent it back, and then we got it in this nice holder. And going over here, I got this from QVC, and this is Mike Schmidt, who Mickey says was the greatest third baseman of all time, right, Mickey?
Right.
That's Mike Schmidt, who played third base for many years for the Philadelphia Phillies. Hit over 500 home runs. And right there is a ball, and that's a very... Can you get a close-up of that, or have you got it on?
Well, it's kind of hard to get in focus.
Anyway, that's signed in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1966. Me and Mickey Owen and the scout Tom Greenway went to Tulsa to a baseball meeting, and a lot of big ball players was there. And I got the autographs of people like Roger Maris, who hit more home runs, hit 61 home runs in 1961. Then there's Bobby Morgan, a great player, Allie Reynolds, and Leo DeRocher, the manager for many years, and Mickey Owen played for Leo in Brooklyn.
Right.
What year was that, Mickey?
1941, 42, 3, and 44,
Okay.
45.
Carol and I are going to run to the center. Turn it off.
Well,
Rolling on here.
yeah, I think the last ball I explained was this one I got in Tulsa. And there was a fellow by the name of A. Ray Smith, who was a friend of Mickey Owens, and he sent an invitation to Mick and Tom Greenway, and they took me along, as they drug me along a lot of places. I never know why, but they took me. I think mostly because I was a good driver. But anyway, I got to visit with Roger Maris, Allie Reynolds, and Leo DeRocher, and I'll never forget, me and Mickey was standing there talking to Leo DeRocher, who was one of the greatest managers of all time. And somebody said to Mickey Owen, said, "Come over here, Mick, I want to talk to you." And Mickey walked away, and Leo said to me, he said, "Say, your friend Mickey there," he said, "if I had him today," said, "I'd give him $65,000 to play for me." And at that time, he was managing the Chicago Cubs. And he said Mickey was the kind of a fella that when he came to the ballpark, he came to play. That was from Leo DeRocher. All right. Now then, we'll go ahead. And this is Warren Spahn ball.
Huh?
And I got to meet Warren and talk to him in Springfield, Illinois in 1981.
Hmm?
And he is the winningest left-handed pitcher of all time. He won 363 ball games. No left-hander has ever won that many ball games.
Who's in the picture right above the balls there?
Well, let's get this last ball here. This ball here, I got that signed by Bob Feller, one of the great right-handers who came up to Cleveland and pitched his entire career, didn't he, Mickey, with the Cleveland? Pitched his entire career with the Cleveland Indians, was some great ball pitcher. Right behind there, in the picture, is Mickey Mantle, whom my friend Tom Greenway signed and sent to the Yankees. And that with him is old Casey Stengel, who was the manager of the Yankees for, I don't know, what, 10 or 12 years, Mick?
Yeah.
And Mickey played for him, and after Casey passed away, Mantle said that outside of his father, that Casey Stengel was just like a second father to him. And that was Mickey, and today, this fellow right here is more requested for card shows, and his autograph is probably worth as much as anybody ever was. He and players like Willie Mays and Joe DiMaggio and those type of people have the top in autographs. Now, and down here is Ryan Sandberg. Here's something I'm really proud of. This is another picture and another story about Mickey and the third strike. And this here is what I got at Tulsa that night. The program. And on the back of that program, I have Leo DeRocher. And then I also have autographs of Chandler and Allie Reynolds, Roger Maris, and Clete Boyer, who was a third baseman with the Yankees. Clete was, yeah. So that's what I got it down there, and I'm very proud of that. Okay. That's about it. Now down here, can you get that picture down there? Wait a minute. This is Mickey's old catching glove.
Where? Oh.
Right here.
And he used that to catch with the Cardinals or Brooklyn?
No. He used that to catch when he was with the Cubs.
Oh, I see.
And when he came home, he gave it to me. Because he and I worked together in 1952. And there is a picture of Pepper Martin, the great third baseman for the Cardinals. And this is Mickey. And that's one of the Cardinal great pitchers, Lon Warnicki. They called him the Arkansas Hummingbird. These two fellows have passed on now. Mickey and I went to his funeral down in Oklahoma. And then, here is a picture of Hank Aaron, number 44, who is an all-time home run hitter. And this is Eddie Matthews, who played with him at the same time, and both of them are in the Hall of Fame. And this picture here is a picture of the third strike, and it shows as it progressed. Here's Henrik swinging, here comes the ball, and there goes the ball, and here it goes, and there goes Mickey after it. There's a story about that Mickey didn't tell you.
Oh, really?
Whenever he took after the ball, there was a fellow, was one of their security guards, was standing over here next to the dugout, and the ball came right towards him, and he kicked at it. He's going to kick it back where Mickey could pick it up and throw Henrik out, but he missed it. So Mickey says, Henrik missed it, I missed it, and the security guard missed it. So that's the story on that. And that's all of that down there. And that bottom picture, this is probably may wind up being the best shortstop the American League ever had. That's Cal Ripken Jr. He has played more games without missing a game. You got it?
Yeah.
Played more games without missing a game than anybody. And Lou Gehrig, who played first base for the Yankees, holds the record for the most games without missing a game. And they think there's a possibility that Cal Ripken Jr. may exceed his 2,100 games. Okay?
The stands going from the dugout into the dressing room, they had an iron fence up there.
Wait a minute, we're still talking about the episode where you dropped that ball.
Right, a third strike.
Okay.
And this is in the game where when the game was over, there was a tremendous crowd down below, and they was wanting to boo me and hit at me, and they were shoving up against that big iron fence that was about 8 foot tall, and I was going to walk quietly down there and reserved, but when they started surging against that fence, I said, well, that's going to come over, and if it does, all those people are going to be leaning on it and fall on me, and I'll be pinned down there like a rat in a trap. So I started walking faster, and I was running because that thing was shaking back and forth. I was afraid it was going to be crushed. That was my experience.
Well, you must have done something right in your career. I think, if I remember right, you weren't you on the All-Star team 4 times?
Yes, I played 4 years. Yeah. In the 4 years with the Dodgers in 1941, 42, 43, and 44.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Owen, Mickey, would you tell them what happened in 1942? Start about how you came up with the bat. Whose bat did you have?
And I was a pinch hitter. I hold a record, home run record in the All-Star game that cannot be broken. It can be tied, but it can't be broken. I hit the first pinch hit home run in the All-Star game in 1941 in the Polo Grounds of New York.
41 or 42?
41.
Yeah.
My goodness.
But you didn't have your own bat and you borrowed a bat, and it was a regular wagon tongue. Right?
That's right.
So the manager, DeRocher said, when DeRocher the manager, Owen, get up here. And Mick said, I didn't know exactly what the manager was wanting.
Catch.
I wanted me to put me in to catch, I guess, but he gets up there and he said, Mickey, I want you to pinch hit. Grab your bat and get in there and pinch hit. And I couldn't find my bat. He said, I picked up somebody else's bat. And he said, it wasn't the kind I used, a great big old heavy bat about like a wagon tongue, but went up there with it. And he said, you know what, I Tommy hawked one and it went out of the ballpark for a home run.
What kind of pitch was it? You remember, Mickey?
I had a fastball outside and hit it to the opposite field in right field.
Oh, you hit it to the opposite field.
Did it surprise you?
It surprised everybody in America. I'll tell you that. I don't believe it to this day, but it's in the record book, so I'm sure it did.
Well, the next time you batted, did you pick up that big heavy bat you had?
That was the only one, the first bat there, because they
The
asked
ball
me to
game was
hurry.
over.
The ball game was over.
They asked me to hurry up because that was during the war was on
You
at
gotta
that
turn
time.
out the
and
lights.
They had to stop the ball game at a
Oh.
certain time. It didn't matter what the score was.
Yeah.
We're nearly to the end of the ball game anyway, and they said, go up and hit. Now I went up. I was huffing and puffing and swinging.
What else we got around here, Curtis?
Well, you might start over there, right behind you, Alan.
Did you give them to Carl Hum?
Right behind me. Okay.
That's the best one you got.
Oh, yeah. That Cardinal uniform, it's very obvious to see, is got that from Mickey Owen.
Mm-hmm.
It was his uniform, and those bats are every one of them, I think, is a bat that some big league ball player has his name on. Mickey Mantle. What was that one you gave me not long ago?
I don't remember.
So they're all autographed bats, in other words.
But there's 6 big league bats there. And these balls are balls that I picked up through the years. You got people on them like Enos Slaughter, who's in the Hall of Fame, Sal Magley, who was a great pitcher with the Giants and with the Dodgers too, wasn't he, Mick?
Yeah, the Giants were did the great pitching though.
And but I have around almost about 40 baseballs, and up here, those three guys right there, the first three, there's Stan Musial, there's Terry Moore, and there's Enos Slaughter. Musial was in left field, where I've got him. Terry Moore, who was about the greatest Cardinal center fielder of all time, and then the right fielder is Enos Slaughter. Musial's in the Hall of Fame, Slaughter is, and Terry Moore, I guess he'll never make it, will he, Mick?
Got it on his batting.
On his hitting, he wasn't doing. And then this is Red Sheendies, who everybody knows, who played many years with the Cardinals and then managed the Cardinals for several years. And then this next picture is Lou Brock, who was a great outfielder with the Cardinals and had held the stolen base record until another guy broke it. And in this picture over here is Don Gutteridge, who played second base when Mickey was up there. And Lou Brock, I'll give you a little story about Lou. He was a great ball player. Of course, he's in the Hall of Fame. But when he was in college, they were having a tournament down in Texas, and at that time, Mickey Owen was working for the Cincinnati Reds as a scout. So he found this colored boy, and he called in that night and he said, "Say, I found a black boy down here that I need to sign." And the minimum pay was $6,000, wasn't it?
Right.
$6,000 is all it took to get him. Well, they said, "Mickey, we don't doubt that you found a good ball player, but said we have all the black boys we want right now. So skip it. We don't want him."
Better cut that out.
Huh?
Better cut that out.
Well, we'll edit that.
He's a black boy.
There was nothing in it about black. They said, we've got all the ball players out there. I'd signed one before, a guy named Roger Repost. And his contract was in there, in the small college World Series in Texas, I forget, Alpine, Texas. And they said there can't be two good prospects in that playoffs, in one playoff, because the average they turn out is just a half a ball player per year average, and you've already signed one, and they wouldn't approve of signing it.
Is that it? I thought you told me.
No, nothing to do with black whatsoever. They were all black players on it, and they're from Louisiana, and I had promised him that I'd sign him if he wanted to, because I thought he's a good major league prospect, and he showed it, and the coach was very helpful, and he said all he thinks about is baseball all the time, and says he's a good student, he gets his grade and all that.
Can you cut that out? You say Mick don't want to?
Well,
Yeah, there's nothing in the black situation whatsoever about yeah.
Well, they said they...
What they said, Kurt, was that in the record of that small college World Series, they averaged one major league ball player that made the majors. Now, several were signed, made every 2 years. So you have a half a ball player a year. And you've already signed one, and there can't be two prospects down in there. Well, there was. Both of them made the big leagues. And they ended up losing the repos player on the deal and signing anyway. So there was two ball players I wanted to sign. They both made the big leagues, and repos had about 9 years up there, and the other player had 20.
yeah. Lou Brock played 20?
Yeah, about 20 years up there, in 2 decades anyway.
Well, Curtis, I tell you, why don't you just go like left to right here and just tell us who we have in these pictures. First of all, you got a small baseball card, and then behind each small baseball.
Before we get up there, here is Yogi Berra and Mickey Mantle, two great players with the Yankees.
Better believe it.
Two great players, both in the Hall of Fame. Now then, above that, and all the way around the room, On the Mickey, you know them guys. I don't know all of them.
Well, it's your story. I'll just say you got that's Madeline Barrett, no two better ball players
Right there.
playing together.
And right above them, who's that?
I can't tell.
Those are old Brooklyn Dodger ball players. There's 32 of them.
Yeah. I don't know them myself.
Where'd you get all this, all those pictures,
We
Curtis?
ordered them.
Oh, I see.
Ordered them out of a magazine book from Brooklyn. And they're every one of them.
They're all Brooklyn,
That's Chuck Connors right there.
Where?
This one here. That's Chuck Connors. He passed away.
Yeah.
And that is, well, I'd have to get something. I don't know all those guys. And that's, the guy that managed the San Francisco.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Wait a minute. That's Roger Craig, pitcher with the Dodgers. He managed Frisco for years. This here's Cookie Lavagetto, another Dodger. This is George Schuba. And this is Ralph Branca. And this is, I can't read all of it.
That's all right. Let me just sort of pan around here and show
Yeah.
all of these.
They're all guys that Mickey played with the old Brooklyn Dodgers. Not the Los Angeles Dodgers, but the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Well, you got Mickey's picture up there in one of those frames?
Yeah, come on around. You got to get away around here to get Mickey. There's players there like Roy Campanella, Jackie Robinson,
There's Mickey.
Mickey Owen. There's Jackie Robinson. Here's the old, that's the old Ebbets Field ballpark right here.
Yeah.
And just below that is a bunch of old Dodgers. Pee Wee Reese and Mickey and Carl Ferrello.
Put your finger on Mickey in that picture there, will you?
Here?
Yeah.
Right there.
Second one from the right.
Second one from the right.
Mickey, you haven't changed a bit in those years.
Oh,
You
no.
look the same today.
And did you go clear around over there?
I'm in the process of it.
That's a great right-hander with the Dodgers. And that's their manager was for years. Gil Hodges. And this one over here is Jackie Robinson. And that's Branch Rickey signing Jackie to a contract. Right here. Okay?
Okay?
That's now. Now coming over here, that's Carl Hubble,
Right there.
the great pitcher with the New York Giants. And this is a story about Babe Ruth when he hit the last home run he ever hit. Mickey Owen was managing the ball club down in Mexico. And
You want to
Babe-
tell us that story, Mickey?
Yeah.
Now, this was the last homer that Babe Ruth hit of his career, right?
Yes. This was in 1946, and Babe had been retired from baseball for approximately 9 or 10 years at that time when he came to Mexico.
And they offered him 10,000.
And he was brought down there, invited down by George Pascal, who was the big man and owner of one of the Mexican League teams in Mexico City. And he gave Babe Ruth $10,000 to come down and put on a hitting exhibition. And he gave his wife and his wife's mother and then $10,000 and then a month's vacation in Acapulco. And he came down to Mexico City on the Sunday, and there's two teams in Mexico City, and we were playing against each other.
Now, wait a minute, Mickey. You said they paid him $10,000 to come down there and bat one time?
Yeah, make an appearance.
Well, the man that had it had
And-
several million.
Yeah.
And so he came down, and he had a full house, of course, And when the Babe came to bat, they had a pitcher that was the best pitcher in the Mexican League. The year before, he'd won 30 games, and he wanted to pitch to him. And of course, they was lobbing the ball in there just like batting practice because he hadn't played in 9 years. But he had a tough delivery to follow, and so Babe just kept fouling the balls off. So the manager took that pitcher out because Babe couldn't hit a home run all of it, and brought in the batting practice pitcher. And on the second pitch, he hit about 400 feet up in the seats. And of course, the people were happy, and they had a runner that ran for Babe Ruth. And so that was the story that I could always tell. I was the manager of the team he was batting for.
And that was 1951, about?
No, that was 1946.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, when 20 of us ball players went to Mexican League.
It's my understanding, Mickey, you went down there and played that Mexican League for a while, and then you went and told this Mr. Pasquale, who owned the team, you said, I want to go back home. He said, that's all right, you just go ahead and go.
The true story is, there's lots of stories to it, but I was there as manager and player.
Yeah.
And they fired me as manager. I went home.
Oh.
And so when they broke my contract, I had enough, and I just went home. So that's the true story of and how the thing happened.
Well, going back just a little bit to that story there, when this guy that was pitching to Babe Ruth there, he was throwing some wild balls before Babe stepped up to the bat, right? Weren't they going to bring another pitcher in? He started arguing with the manager. Was that you?
They got in a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got in the fight. Oh, that got pretty rough after the game.
Tell them about when they went in the dugout or in the dressing room.
We when the game was over, with the crowd of Mexicans there, and the manager of the other team came out to take the pitcher that his name was Ramon Bragana. So a lot of people in Mexico will remember him because he was a great pitcher. Took him out because he was too good, and Babe couldn't hit the ball off of him. They had the argument, and he showed the manager up in front of all those people. But the manager went ahead and put the other pitcher in, and Babe hit one in the seats. But after the game was over, the Bragana and myself and two other players used to dress in the dressing room there in the Delta Parquet at that ballpark. And I was about half dressed when a guy come busting through the door, who was a brother of the manager of the Mexico City team, who took the pitcher out of the lineup, and he had a big pistol in his hand, and he was pointing it at the Bragana.
Oh, it was,
All
huh?
right, now, the kid that was kind of took care of the supplies, when he come through with that gun, he said to me, he said, let's go. And up there, there was the wall did not go clear to the ceiling. It'd go up about 6 feet or 7 feet, and then it was an open space. He took one jump and went over, and I took one jump and went over. Now, I'll show you something. What I saw, the last thing I saw was this. I saw Morgana with a fella threatening to kill him, but they're talking Spanish, and I didn't understand it, but Morgana did. And he was, when the guy came at him with the gun, instead of confronting him, he did this. And turned his back to him. The back was turned to him, which is a good way to keep a man from killing you down there, because they do have pride. And he might have shot him if he'd have, but he held his head down, so to kill him, he'd have to shoot him in the back.
Yeah.
And he saved his life.
Too much pride to do that. I remember that if any Mexican ever pulls a gun on me.
Yeah, and he meant to kill him if he had fought back or resisted in any way. The brother of Carmona was the name of the manager, whose brother come in, and their family had been they had been put down badly or disgraced out in front of those people, and that's dangerous. But when Bragana the pitcher knew what to do. Instead of facing him where he could see him and maybe pull the trigger. He turned it down, went,
Yeah.
like that, and he'd have to shoot him in the back to kill him. And that's...
There's up there in the corner of the room. There's a
Yeah, we got
old
more.
Brooklyn baseball cap. What's the story on that hat there, Curtis?
That hat with the B shining in your
Yeah.
front, that's the hat cap that Mickey was wearing when he was catching for Brooklyn and dropped the third strike.
Oh my goodness.
And the lighter colored blue one,
Yeah.
that's the cap they gave him when they inducted him into the Hall of Fame in Brooklyn,
Oh.
Brooklyn Dodger. And the jersey, if you get a close up, you'll see the names of an awful lot of the old Dodger ball players. Would you like to take it down and see it closer?
Well, okay. We might see if we can get a focus on it.
There's the same bunch of guys that these pictures are around are on here.
Okay, move the head off the thing there for a minute. Okay. Well,
I got it.
yeah, okay.
Brooklyn Dodger Hall of Fame, okay? Then here is the guys that's in that Hall of Fame. Dolph Camilli, first baseman. Babe Herman, second base. Johnny Padres, pitcher. Dixie Walker, outfielder. Carl Erskine, pitcher. Carl Furillo, outfielder. Gil Hodges, first base. Bobby Thompson. Cal Abrams. Gene Hermansky. Dave Anderson, Sid Friedlander. Marty Glickman. Cookie Lavagetto. Eddie Mixus. Stan Isaacs. Mickey Owen. Irvin Judd. George Schuba, Tommy Henrick, Gus Steiger, Tommy Holmes, Maury Allen, Herb Gorin, Harold Rosenthal, Ralph Kiner, Roger Kahn, Jack Long, Whitlow White, Dick Young, Ralph Branca, Clem Levine, Don Newcomb, Preacher Rowe, and the Symphony Orchestra.
Okay.
So that's it.
All right. Well, there's some more pictures on the wall over here we missed. You want to tell us about some of these things, Curtis?
These here, these are all, this is, that bottom, we're down at the bottom and it'll go up. That is old Reliable, the guy that was batting when Mickey dropped the strike. And here's a picture of Mickey going after the ball, and there's Henrik. And that other ball player, that's Joe Gordon, isn't it, Mick?
Yes.
That's Joe Gordon. And that, in the background, that's Ebbets Field. Here's Mickey when he was catching for the Cubs. Here's Mickey when he was catching for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And that next picture is Ozzie Smith with the gold glove that he won about 12 or 14 of, and his cat. Now, coming over here, that's another picture of Mickey in the third strike deal. This is Joe DiMaggio, a great center fielder with the Yankees. That's Babe Ruth. And they call that the call shot. They said that in Chicago, he pointed to center field and said, I'm going to hit one right out there in the seats. Whether he really meant that or not, we'll never know, will we, Mick?
Yeah, but he hit it.
But he hit it in the center field seats. And this is the greatest first baseman of all time. That's Lou Gehrig. Now, that over there is another picture of the third strike. That up there, next one up, is Mickey holding the bat there. And that's he and Tommy Henrik when they were put in the Guinness Book of Records. And where'd that happen? Kansas City?
No, that happened someplace in the east. I forget where.
Anyway, that's them. And then this next one up there, that's a group of old Dodger ball players.
Yeah, we saw that one.
Saw that one? And you saw those over there, didn't you? Last homer and...
Yeah, we saw all those. I think we covered about everything except what's on the mantle here, Curtis.
But you didn't get this one here because it's hit.
Oh, goodness.
Here is a picture of the 8 ball players down through history that have hit 400 batting average or better. There they are. So, and there's our Cobb, Lajoie, Williams, Jackson, Heilman, that's Shoeless Joe Jackson, Bill Terry, Sisler, Hornsby.
Turn it back over and let me get see if I can get a decent focus.
They
on
call that the 400 Club.
Okay.
And the last one to hit 400 was that one right there, and that's Ted Williams. And he and Mickey played with him in Boston in 1950, what, make three?
1954, 54 when I played with him. And I was with him 54, 55, 56.
Yeah. So that's the story on those boys.
Okay.
All right, you got that.
You got that?
And this is I got this in St. Louis. In 1976, Mickey was called up to St. Louis to play in the old timers game. And this is one of the old timers he's passed on now, hasn't he, Ray? Ray Blades. He was a 300 hitter with the Cardinals. Then this is a picture of several of the Royals. Willie Wilson, some of those are, and George Brett. And then there's some more Dodger ball players. And you know who that is up there. John Wayne. And these baseball bats, the Rawlings had their truck here a while back, and they were showing how they made bats and how they made baseballs, and I picked up a couple of those bats. Sneaked an extra one. Didn't steal it, but I sneaked an extra one. The fella gave it to me. And this fella right here, it was the all-time record, and it'll probably never be broken. Nolan Ryan, who is now retired.
Yeah.
The greatest pitcher of our day. Would you say, Mick?
Hard to beat.
Hard to beat, okay. Now, these are all autograph balls. This one here is Tom Greenwade, our friend. Mickey and I, he was one of our great friends, and no doubt the best scout that ever worked at the trade. This ball is one Mickey had. First pinch hit home run in the All-Star game in the Polo Grounds in 1942. You said 41, but I've got
42 is right, that's right.
you got 42 on here.
Yeah.
And this is another one signed by Mickey and Tommy Henrik. And then this is one I got at here a few years back. Cardinals had a great third baseman that died with lung cancer, and they put on a little game for him down at Joplin, where he grew up down in that area.
Boyer.
Yeah, Kenny Boyer. And Mickey went down there and played in the game, and I got some autographs. Ralph Terry, who pitched for the Yankees, and there's Bill Burton, Mickey Owen, and Jerry Lumpy, who was a good friend of mine, played with the Yankees in Kansas City. Jerry also played with Detroit. Then in 1979, we went to my daughter and son-in-law's in...
Atlanta?
No, you lived in... close to Atlanta, out the Big Rock.
Stone Mountain, Georgia.
We went to Stone Mountain, Georgia, and we went to the Old Timers game, and Mickey caught in that, and he got his picture in the paper because he caught a foul fly, and I got autographs of Johnny Mize, and I don't know who all, at that Old Timers game in 1979. And this next one is Bob Feller. I got that autograph in Chicago, Illinois. In 1981, we were up there at the Old Timers game, and Mickey was supposed to catch, but he got eat something and got sick, and he was laid up in the hotel. And old Kurt said he wasn't going to miss that ball game, so I got acquainted with one of the old time ball players, and he and I and his wife, we caught the bus and went to the ballpark and got to see the ball game.
Mm.
This next one is one from Bill Worden, who managed for many years. He played well. He was a great player with the Cardinals. Then he went over to Pittsburgh, and then he managed the Yankees for a while. He managed Houston for a while.
Montreal.
And he managed Montreal. And he's now, the last few years, he's worked for Pittsburgh, and he's their hitting coach. And this next picture is Mickey when he was with the Red Sox. And he was with the Red Sox for 4 years?
3.
3 years. And that picture behind the big one, that's Nolan Ryan when he's pitching for the Texas Rangers. Take that down, you get a better look now. There's a good picture of Nolan.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And right here is Ozzie Smith. And here's my friend Bill Burden. Our friend Mickey and I have a friend Tom Greenwade. He signed Bill. And he signed Jerry Lumpy. In fact, you check Tom Greenwade's record, he signed more ball players that went to the big leagues than anybody that ever was. Now, there's Mickey, and here's Mickey, and there's Red Shaney. And I have something here that very few people in this world have got. Look at that. Get a good picture of that. That's a record made by Stan Musial and Joe Garagiola.
A
Telling
record?
you,
What,
Yeah.
talking or what?
yeah, explaining,
Oh,
you know,
I see.
talking on,
Okay.
play on a Victrola.
All right.
And that's autographed by Stan. Okay, is that it? Got it?
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Well, no, very few people have got one of those, I'll bet you. Now here's Mickey, down at Mickey and I went down to, in Kansas, and they had a program on down there with Mickey Mantle signing autographs. And this is that's about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And this is Mark Grace, the Gold Glove winner this year, first baseman for the Chicago Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
A fine boy. Now, we're through here.
Yep.
Now, over here is Eddie Matthews, who is in the Hall of Fame, and he hit over 500 home runs for the Braves. He was hitting home runs when Hank Aaron was hitting home runs. Here's Ted Williams, about the greatest, and probably the greatest left-hander hitter of all time.
He and Babe Ruth.
He and Babe Ruth are the two greatest left-hand hitters of all time. Now this here, in 1992, on June the 14th, they had an old-timers get-together in St. Louis, and this is Mickey right there. You got it?
Yeah.
And that all the rest of those old-time Cardinals. And here's some of the guys Mickey played with when he was with Boston. This is Joe DiMaggio's brother, and this is Ken Hanselman. And this is Enid Slaughter here, and this is Mickey Owen. And this is a boy that grew up with Mickey out in California. Bobby Dorr. Is he in the Hall of Fame?
Yep.
That's the second baseman with Boston. That he and Mickey played Legion baseball together, right?
Uh-huh.
Won the state championship.
Won the state.
Shortstop, and his Bobby Dorr's father advised me if I wanted to play professional baseball that I'd have a better chance if I was a catcher. And I took his advice, and he let me use some equipment that he'd bought his own son.
Uh-huh.
And I played with that, and I hadn't played as a catcher more than 6 months. This is in Southern California, Los Angeles, where they had a lot of baseball and a lot of players. And within 6 months, all the scouts come around and look, because there weren't many catchers, and there never is. A good ball player don't have to catch. So it's hard to find a good ball player that's catching. So when anybody looks halfway good and is a catcher, everybody knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they began talking to my mother about signing the contract, and that put me into professional baseball. Just the fact that a wise fella told me, get over in this position, you've got a chance there.
Yeah.
So that ended your shortstop days.
That ended it, thank
Now
you.
we
This
missed.
picture right here is
That's Warren Spahn right there.
Warren
The
Spahn.
greatest left-hand pitcher of all time. He won 363 ball games, and I got to meet him and got his autograph when Mickey and I went up to Springfield, Illinois in 1981. And he was in the Army with my brother-in-law at the same time, Son McKenzie, and after Son got out of the Army and Warren became a great pitcher, later on, Son said, you know, I batted him once down there in Muskogee, Oklahoma, that I batted against him. I said, you get a base hit, son? Oh, he said, I popped up to the second baseman, which is pretty good off of Warren Spahn. And Mickey knows Son.
Yeah.
But that's the story of him. Now here,
We got a black and white picture down there, Curtis. What is that?
oh, right there, can you get on that?
Yeah.
This is Mickey when he was with the Cubs, and that's him on the left. And that glove he's holding right there is the last one he used with the Cubs, and he brought it home, and it's right over there in the case. Mickey gave it to me when he was working for me, and I worked him hard. And this right here is Phil Cavaretta, who was a first baseman for the Cubs and a good one. So that's the story of that books. Guys like, here's a baseball book from the Mickey Owen Baseball School. Might as well give them a plug. The Boys Baseball book by Mickey Owen. That was probably put together in about 1949 or 50.
When was built at the ball school, it was the second year of the ball school. When was that?
Well, it's 49, 50.
Yeah, about that.
And the rest of those are baseball books by Whitey Herzog and Izzy Dean and Yogi Berra and Mickey Mantle and Tommy Henrik and just any and all kinds of books. 5 O'Clock Lightning, which was sent to me by Tommy Henrik when Mickey was up in New Jersey. And then there's a lot more down here.
Well, I tell you, we're going to have to break for a commercial here in a minute. Before we go, Mickey?
Yeah.
I guess as you look back, you can look over a lot of years of baseball, right?
Right.
You think there's much different in the sport today and what it was, say, in the 40s and 50s?
Well, it's better today because the equipment and the facilities that you play in are far superior than they were then. They have added quite a few more teams into the major leagues, of course, and fewer teams in the minor league. Excuse me. So there's a problem of developing good ball players to replace the veterans, and the turnover, the superstars or great ball players coming into baseball are thinner than they used to be because they don't turn over as fast. So you're looking at the same ball players year after year after year, where it used to be the ball player's career lasted about half what they do now.
Yeah.
And so you had a new group of players coming in, and you had more players because you had fewer teams. So you now it was it's easier to play to get into big leagues now than it was back then.
Yeah.
As a regular.
Well, Curtis, anything you want to add here before we sign off?
Well, not really. I think we've covered about everything that Mick and I have put together. And I just want to say that Mickey and I have been running together since 1946. In 1946, I was playing with the summer pro team of Walnut Grove, and we had a real good ball club. And my brother-in-law broke his leg sliding into second base. And at that time, Mickey was living here in Springfield or Nixa, and he was out of baseball. So someone told Mickey about it, that they were going to have this for son, and he volunteered to come down and catch. And the people said, oh, we're going to get to see Mickey Owen, the big league catcher? And I remember some people said, well, he didn't look any different than a lot of these other catchers. And son said, no, he just could catch every ball you threw up there. So Mick caught, and I played shortstop in that game. And that's when I got acquainted with him, in 46. Then in 52, I hadn't seen him for a while, and we had still been friends. And in 1952, I was in Kansas City to the Little World Series with Tom Greenwade, my old scout buddy. And Tom and I were sitting over there, and Mickey came over to the stands, and we visited a while. And he said, what are you doing now, Robnett? Oh, I said, I'm still iron working. He said, well, I'm going to be home in a few days as soon as this series is over, and I might be out to see you. Well, that was back in the days when they didn't make hardly. I think he got $700 for playing the World Series. And he didn't have much money, so I gave him a job. I got him a union car. He joined up with our union, and he worked with us. And I told him, after he had worked for a while, he was a real good worker. And the boys all liked to work with Mickey because he was big and stout, and he could. And anyway, he went off the next year then, and he didn't work with us because he went to Puerto Rico or something down in that country to manage a ball club. But that 52, then from then on we were still friends for many years, and he went put in the baseball school, and then one day he come by my station. He said, "You know what I done today, Kurt?" And I said, "No, what'd you do, Mick?" He said, "I filed for sheriff." I said, "You filed for sheriff?" I said, "Man, I don't know about that. That doesn't sound too good," but he and I worked at it. We started the next day and we campaigned hard and got elected.
You got elected to
And
sheriff.
3 more times after that.
So you served 4 terms as sheriff.
4 terms.
Yeah.
4-year terms in the 16
16 years.
sheriff's office.
Well, tell me, Mickey, what was more fun, playing baseball or being sheriff?
Playing baseball.
Thought you would say that.
Sheriff is a sheriff that will serve the people and go to the people. It's a rewarding position because you have full authority to do whatever you think is right under the law.
Uh-huh.
And no one is above you to tell you you can't do this. And if the people come to the sheriff and say, "Look, Sheriff, we've got a certain thing going on here. You're the one that can handle it for us. Will you come down and help us?" And that was the way that I focused, because I knew little about law or law enforcement, but I knew that the sheriff was a public serving man, and if the good ones went out and helped the people, then they helped you. And they know far better about what to do about a situation than anybody sitting up in an office on a big fine chair looking at them. And that seemed to work good, and we formed lots of things that they'd never had before, like volunteer fire department, our search and rescue teams, a communication unit that we could get in touch with anybody in the world with shortwave radios that we had in the sheriff's office that the people wanted when there was emergencies, wherever they happened, and things like that. So they kept putting me in until I was old enough to retire, and I said, "You had enough of me," and I retired at 65 years of age.
I believe Mr. Robnett over here was one of your deputies.
First deputy ever deputized by sheriff.
His deputy sheriff duties was to handle the money for me.
Handling money for you, huh?
Because I'm a poor money handler, and I would, if I figured it up, I'd be wrong and they'd say he's a crook. So no way did I ever sign any checks.
Go see Kurt.
And so Kurt had to put the figures down, and so and I wouldn't do it. But he helped a great deal in handling the money and the expenses and things like that.
Well, I remember him in those years sitting at a desk right over here,
Yeah.
many a night with a lamp on there and
Right. Well,
Right.
working
that
on
was
some records. And
I
things.
handled thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of, not the sheriff money. I had nothing to do with running the sheriff's office, but I run the patrol, and I took care of his money. I said, "Mick, I'm going to take care of the money because you're too easy and we won't have enough money to pay the bill." And he never only asked one question. He'd say, "Let's see what's the bottom line. What do we got left there, Rodney?" That's all he ever wanted to know. How much is the bottom line? He'd keep me broke, so I finally told him, I said, that's going to stop.
Yeah.
Because I've got these bills to pay, and those people that we trade with, we had about 20 cars, and I done all the trading, all the money managing, and I handled thousands of dollars, and so help me, I hope to drop dead, I never stole a penny off of him. Well then, whenever I quit, let me tell you this, whenever I quit, I finally made up mine. I sold the station. I was working for the sheriff department as a civil processor, which I enjoyed, and I'd done it for 13 and a half years. And I walked into Mickey's office one day and I said, "Mick, I gotta talk to you." "Well, sit down." I sat down. "What's on your mind?" I said, "I've sold the station, I'm rid of that, and I don't want to take care of the patrol cars anymore."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I'm working for Captain Emmert in the civil department, and that's the only job I want." And Mickey said, "Is that all you want?" I said, "That's all I want, and I think I deserve it." "Yes, you do. So I'll go tell the captain." So that's when I worked there till 1980, and we walked out together.
Well, we've covered a lot of years here in our discussions and our pictures and the stories we've heard. I guess what we've talked about today goes back to, what, about 1937, Mickey? Is that?
Yeah.
Seems like that was the earliest story you told.
Started in 35 on up to
35.
1980.
And so here we are.
One other thing, Alan, can I, buddy?
Yeah.
His first year in pro ball was right here in Springfield with the Springfield Cardinals, which was a farm club of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Mm.
So I just thought I'd drop that in.
Okay. Well, with that little tidbit, I guess it's time to say that's the way it is, or that's the way it was.
This all happened. Tell where this happened. I got a purpose for this.
We are in the
Home.
den of the Curtis and Nellie Robnett home in Springfield, Missouri, and the den really has become a baseball museum of
Put
sorts.
on by Mickey and Curtis.
Put on by Curtis Robnett and Mickey Owen. Mickey Owen. How about that? Mickey Owen.
It's correct.
Anyway, that's the way it is here on this Wednesday, November the 24th, 1993.
He's got a good voice. He used to be a radio announcer.